Your sensory behavior can develop by means of various physiological mechanisms, which become more complex the higher the level of organization of your being. Only a small range of a person's sensory possibilities are utilized to bring into contact the world and ourselves. The eyes, the ears, the hands register different kinds of information. The new symbiosis of tools as an extension of senses, increasing the potentiality of various phenomena, create new values of use, developing that function of science which makes it appear as an innovating factor of production processes. Thus, new transpersonal defenses are created, whose complex mechanisms tend often to fragment the behavioral models into rigid patterns. It would seem that another human being remains the surest way to render the world alive to man, or on the other hand, to dry up the reality in which one lives by means of a glance, a gesture, a phrase. The transformation of body and mind into the only tool results in new models, which are evolved out of reductive processes. From the use of tools to the use of the body. From the use of matter to the use of energy. That which really stands between us cannot be expressed by the name of overimposed things. But in broad terms, the problem stands as the rediscovery of ourselves through the elimination of all the formal structures and, in general, all that which exists apart from the individual. From the control of the environment with three-dimensional and energetic means to the creation of shelters and microclimate. Presently, design, relating man to the environment, produces a complexity of new needs and a new kind of poverty. Design may become a cross-discipline. Therefore, we visualize an image guide. Design is the formulation of problems for the evolution of a new mentality, guideline for a new society. Concentrated masses of people, continuous nomadism, show us the possibility of an urban life without the emergence of three-dimensional structures as a basis. Morphological structures visualize the terms of functional exploitation. Manhattan Island, divided according to a Cartesian grid, stands as an example of homogeneous initial utilization of territory. Networks of services and communications are the means for the use of the land. The cities stand as the knots of the network. We can imagine always larger zones of the Earth being developed, homogeneous and inhabitable. We can imagine a network of energy and information that makes life possible according to new models. The grid, when activated, creates a situation of Cartesian plan in which every point is described by the intersection of two straight lines, which is, of course, to be understood not only in the physical sense, but as a visual verbal metaphor for an ordered and rational distribution of resources. It can assume different forms, the first being a linear development. The others include different planimetrical developments, with the possibility of covering different and gradually increasing parts of the inhabitable areas. We can also imagine the grid invisible, just individualized by the equidistant knot points. points constitute ideal universal plugs which satisfy all the primary needs. A new mankind, free from induced needs, can survive with the help of the grid and the plugs. A new society based no longer on work, nor on power, nor on violence, but on unalienated human relationships. Our elementary requirements can be satisfied by a highly sophisticated, miniaturized technique. A greater ability to think and the integral use of our psychic potential will then be the foundation and the reason for a life free from want. There will be no further need for cities or castles. There will be no further reason for roads or squares. Every point will be the same as any other. So, having chosen a random point on the map, we'll be able to say, my house will be here for 3 days, or 2 months, or 10 years. Mrs. Jones would certainly have no intention of doing without her vacuum cleaner, her electric iron, her washing machine and fridge, books, costume jewelry, dolls, and clothes. She can just take whatever she likes, or rather, equip a happy island for herself with all her goods. The only problem is that the sea has receded all around, and the island is sticking up in the middle of a plain without any messages in bottles. Look at that distant mountain. What can you see? Is that the place to go to? Or is it the only limit of the inhabitant? It's both the one and the other. Since contradiction no longer exists, it's only a case of being complementary. Thus thought a fairly adult Alice, skipping over her rope very slowly, though feeling neither heat nor effort. We'll keep silent to listen to our own bodies. We'll hear the sound of the blood in our ears, the slight crackings of our joints or teeth. We'll examine the texture of our skins, the patterns made by the hairs on our bodies and heads. We'll listen to our hearts and our breathing. We'll watch ourselves living. We'll do very complicated muscular acrobatics. We'll do very complicated mental acrobatics. The mind will fall back on itself to read its own history. We'll carry out astonishing mental operations. Perhaps we'll be able to transmit thoughts and images. Then one happy day our minds will be in communication with that of the whole world. That which was called philosophy will be the natural physical activity of our minds, and will at the same time be philosophy, religion, love, politics, science. Perhaps we'll lose the names of these disciplines, and it will be no great loss, when everybody will be present in essence in our minds. We'll be able to create and transmit visions and images, perhaps even make little objects move for fun. We'll play wonderful games, games of ability and love. We'll talk a lot to ourselves and to everybody. We'll look at the sun, the clouds, the stars. We'll go to faraway places just to look at them and hear them. Some people will become great storytellers. Many will move to go and listen to them. Some will sing and play. Stories, songs, music, dancing will be the words we speak and tell ourselves. Life will be the only environmental art.